Hey guys, and welcome to the Fish Room. I'm Rachel O'Leary and it's time for a species spotlight. You guys know I've had those Borneo suckers in the fish room for quite a long time, so I thought we'd talk about them today. They are an incredible little algae eater and a very diverse group of fishes. So let's take a look and I'll tell you more about them. As you can see, these guys are adorable. Now I think it's important to mention that the moniker Borneo sucker applies to quite a few different species, and assuming these fish all cooperate, you'll see a bunch of different colors and patterns. In fact, you can see on the log there, that's a Cenocephalus. It's got even spots and then a blue or white tail. There's ones with slight striping, and there's variability of those spots. Now, all of the fish lumped into the Borneo sucker moniker are from Borneo and eastern Malaysia, where they inhabit swift, shallow streams with really clear, high oxygenated water. They'll often inhabit places above and below waterfalls where they're in fast-flowing riffles and runs of water. These guys only get 1.5 inches, so they're probably one of the smaller of this Hillstream type. You'll find at least 8 to 10 different species come in and under these mixed bags. These guys are super peaceful, and in the wild they hang out in sort of loose aggregations, meaning that they hang out in small groups. So it's not a bad idea to have 4 or more, though they certainly don't rely on it like a schooling fish. They do awesome with a bunch of different fish, Tanichthyes like white clouds, danios, a lot of the rasboras, gobies, the small catfish like achisis, loaches like coolie loaches. You just want to make sure you keep them in tanks where there's no issue of fish picking on them, because they're really very peaceful. In the wild, they eat all sorts of algae and microorganisms that grow in algae, called offwucks. In the aquarium, they are algae destroyers, but are pretty easy to supplement with most dried foods. Now, I've only spawned these once, and it was honestly quite by accident. And what happened was my fish room got really warm, about 80 degrees, and their aquarium, and then I did a large, cool water change and dropped the temperature back down to about 74, which is where I like to keep them. And they spawned, and they laid a bunch of non-adhesive eggs all over the place, and then the babies were reared that way. I didn't intervene at all. You can sex them by looking at their shape. Females are noticeably wider, males are more thinner, especially through this pelvic region here. Supposedly they have tubercles, but I've never been able to identify that. And you can see that these guys have a modified morphology, meaning their fin structure has been modified for their environment. And all the paired fins are horizontal rather than up and down. And they have the flattened head and body shape, and their pelvic fins are fused, and this allows them to grip onto rocks and decor in their high flow environment. They don't really swim in the open water, they more crawl across everything. All in all, I think they're a pretty versatile little fish, taking a range of temperatures all the way down to 68 and up to the high 70s. They can take a pH range all the way down to 6 and up to almost 8, as long as the tank is very mature. The biggest issue I think most people have is getting them in when they're a little bit thin. They can be a bit fragile upon import, but once established are really bomb-proof. You can see they're absolutely adorable in the way they crawl around. I just think that they are one of the more underrated algae eaters for your average aquarium. I probably wouldn't put these in a high-tech CO2 setup just because of their oxygen requirements. In an ideal world, you would have at least 10 to 15 times turnover in the tank that you place them in. Even in this quarantine tank, I have a power head just to supplement their oxygenation. All in all, I think these guys are fantastic and would be good for any level hobbyist that has a mature, well-cycled tank with decent filtration. One other thing that's important to mention about these guys, and loaches in general, is that they're very sensitive to medications. So it's really important to do a good long quarantine on them before adding them to a display tank. All in all, they're really rewarding, fun, active, adorable fish that I just think are totally underrated. As always, thank you guys for watching. Let me know below if you have any comments, suggestions, or questions. Make sure you hit the notification bell and stop by my Instagram, Facebook, and website, MsJinx.com, where you can find my upcoming speaking engagements, my current stock list, and information on all things nano.